So if you don't know me, my name is Jennifer Barton. I'm the director with the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development, often referred to as MASD. You heard Wendy say MASD a few times. That's who we are. We have a team of about over 100 staff here in Eastern Ontario that span all the different programs that MASD delivers. And we're spread amongst offices. Many of you have probably dealt with some of our team members. We have offices in Ottawa, Pembroke, Hawkesbury, Cornwall, Kingston, Belleville, and Peterborough. That was a good test of my memory. So I am delighted to be here. Some very familiar faces in the room for me, but lots of new faces as well. So that tells me that I haven't been out to visit enough offices and haven't got a chance to see enough of you because there's some new faces in the room. LBS obviously is a hot topic for the ministry now. You all know that. You all know there's lots of work going on around what the future of LBS looks like, and we've been very actively involved in that conversation as part of the East region. But I'm delighted to have Monica here as one of my corporate colleagues from the policy side, who's really working on what the future is. Our role really is to work with you, so my team, and I do have a bunch of team members here, so why don't I introduce them before I go any further. So Jana, if you can give a big wave. Jana from our Kingston office is part of our program support unit, so Jana supports all our offices right across the east. And then we have Louise and Brad at the back with his shy wave, and Connie. Where's Connie? And Tara. Anybody else? Did I miss anyone? I'd hate to do that. Phew. Nobody that wants to work with us either. No hands went up saying, pick me. So those four people are employment and training consultants, and you would know them if they've been to your office. They would manage the contracts that we have with each of the different organizations who provide services on our behalf. And they deal with multiple programs, not only literacy and basic skills, but a number of different programs. So delighted to have them here with me. And actually, I may have to pull them up here later if we have time for a few questions at the end, because they really are the true experts. I just get the real pleasure of working with them. Our role and the role of those people that I just introduced really is to work with you as our valued partners here in Eastern Ontario. So we represent the East. We all live here in the East and we all work in the East, and really see this as a great part of the province to work in. And we really want to work with you to remove whatever barriers are in front of you, or what things that you're experiencing in terms of being able to deliver the critical services that you deliver in your communities. We also, though, act as your link to our policy colleagues in Toronto. So if there's things that are a headache for you, if there's things that aren't working, that's the kind of conversations we want to have. And we want to do a better job of hearing from you on a regular basis and understanding what those roadblocks are for you, so that when we go to those corporate tables, and I get the pleasure, I'll say it that way because Monica's here, I get the pleasure of spending a lot of time in Toronto, where I sit at some of the policy tables and get to talk to some of my colleague directors, that including Monica, and provide that kind of feedback. So make sure if there is something that's bothering you, and I'll reiterate this again at the end, but definitely always want to hear from you. I like to come out and visit different sites, and have to make that a priority again this year to get out and visit a lot more LBS sites. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to turn it over to Monica. So Monica, as Michael said, is a Director of Lifelong Learning and Essential Skills branch, and she's in our Workforce Policy and Innovation division. So we're working closely together. We're out here in the East operating, and we consider the operational part of the ministry, and Monica's part of our policy team. So working closely together to see where LBS is going, and I'm excited that Monica's here and able to share with you what she sees the future looks like at this point, and all the different work we're doing. So I'll turn it over to Monica, and then I'll join you again later just to do a little bit more follow-up.
All right, so what I wanted to talk about a little, and thank you very much for inviting me, Jennifer. I'm so pleased to be here. This is the first time I'm actually getting outside Toronto. I've only been Director of Lifelong Learning and Essential Skills since the beginning of June, really. So that's not a long time. I'm getting to know people, and the more opportunities I have to come out and get to know people, the better, because it's really hard to to do good policy work without actually speaking to people who are providing the services. So my role is in policy, and the policy agenda is pretty full in the area of lifelong learning and skills development. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the things that have been happening in Toronto and how we're going to move forward. So you may have heard about the Ontario Lifelong Learning and Skills Plan. That was highlighted in the 2017 budget in the spring. And that is really about opening doors and opportunities through three large elements or aspects. And it includes strengthening the adult education and essential skills system, extending OSAP support to mature students, and also updating key Employment Ontario programs. So my branch has the lead for the first of those items, strengthening the adult education and essential skills system. And what that includes, that whole system, it includes literacy and basic skills. That's a very big core of what we consider to be adult education, but it also includes adult credit delivered through school boards, language training, it includes academic and career entrance, and also adult upgrading, and the Ontario Bridge Training Program. So that's a lot of programs delivered through three different ministries: the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration, and also MAISD. And it spans a large variety of program and delivery partners. So it's a really big system, and what the government has tasked us to do is to work collaboratively across the three ministries and across the delivery partners to make that system more streamlined and learner-centered. So that's what we're trying to achieve over the next while. And the three ministries are now working together to develop a discussion paper that will talk about these, how we might go about creating a more seamless system, what priorities we might need to put in place to make the whole system more learner-centered. So we'll be producing that discussion paper and seeking engagement from you and other partners in the field to tell us your priorities, to get your reactions to the questions that we're asking. The discussion paper is to be posted on the ontario.ca website, so you'll get information when it gets posted. We're trying to get it out there later this fall. So I did want to connect sort of that bigger activity across the adult education system with literacy and basic skills. Literacy and basic skills is the adult education program that's delivered through the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development, and that's in fact what you're involved in directly. And that LBS program is a cornerstone of adult education, and it's a very important priority to the government. One demonstration of how important it is the large investment that was announced by the minister last June into the program. And so we have that. It's $185 million that will be going out over this and the next 3 fiscal years. And what that means is that by 2021, the program budget will have doubled since in comparison to what it was last year. So rising from an $85 million program to a $170 million program. That's pretty astounding, and I think we can do a lot with that to improve and expand the program itself. As you know, there was an evaluation of LBS that was completed last year, and that evaluation report was shared, was sent out and posted on the website, which, sorry, I forget the name of it now. There's some sort of special name for it, but I'm still new. Anyways, that's been shared with everyone, and I'm sure you've taken a look at it, and it did suggest that we ought to work together to collaborate with service delivery partners, with support organizations who know so much and are really the experts in this area, in order to improve the program and to expand it. So that is our plan, to work together. And the first step in order to make those improvements and the expansion was to host the LBS symposium earlier this month. I don't know if any of you, or how many, I know some of you were there. Hopefully a number of you were there. We had a really good discussion, and the ministry hosted that to just begin the conversation at a deeper level, to talk about how we're going to improve and expand this very important program. We also planned the agenda with some input from support organizations. We had a small working group that worked together over the summer to help us plan out the agenda. And that group also suggested that we send out a symposium before a survey before the symposium with some questions, just so that we could narrow down the discussion a little bit. We were only together for one day, so we couldn't talk. I mean, the report came out with something like 42 or 45 recommendations, so we needed to narrow it down and have a focused discussion as a place to start. So the three themes that were ranked the highest and most important to talk about at the symposium were community needs, leadership and vision, and funding, sustainability, and efficiency. So that was what the questions and the discussion at the symposium centered around. And I'll say a few words now, just at the very high level, some of the things that we heard at that symposium. And what I'm going to share today is sort of a very preliminary summary. I've got, like 7 sentences on the page, really. You probably can't even see them from back there, sorry. But I'll read them out to you. And this just gives you a flavor. They haven't been analyzed or deciphered. We're at this moment, the facilitator who led the symposium is putting together a draft summary of all of the comments that we heard. So this is just giving you a flavor. Don't, and I kind of picked these out of a list of draft notes. So I don't know how representative these few statements are, but it gives you a flavor of the conversation that we had, which I found very, very valuable and insightful. So in terms of community needs, we heard a lot about the challenges in serving learners with barriers. For example, learners with mental health issues, learners with transportation difficulties, getting to and from programs. Those are some challenges that service providers are dealing with on a daily basis in terms of delivering the program. I mean, in those cases, we hear that it takes longer for some folks to complete their programs, and so it's difficult to meet targets, for example. There was also a great deal of discussion about how the curriculum itself needs to be structured around the needs of learners who are deaf, deaf-blind, francophone, and indigenous. And so there needs to be some tailoring, some adaptation or development of curriculum materials specifically for those groups of people. In addition, we heard that in many communities, there's a lack of awareness about the opportunities that are available for people through the LBS program, and how that might open up opportunities for individuals down the road. In terms of leadership and vision, we heard that that people really would like to see the LBS program as an all-inclusive program, so that it serves anyone who really needs the service, as opposed to just people, for example, who want to seek employment or a new job or a different job or a career advancement. So we did hear differences to that too, so I don't want to suggest that absolutely everyone agreed that it needs to be an all-inclusive program, so just bear that in mind. People also thought that it needs to be a flexible program centered on the needs of learners in each specific community, so not a cookie-cutter approach across the province with a single frameworks. There are lots of fantastic things happening on a small scale in many different communities, and many programs are tailored already to specific needs. So there's some specialization going on, and it seems to be working in many cases. So we wanted to keep that flexibility. There was quite a bit of discussion about perhaps rebranding the program. Perhaps that would help to bring bring greater awareness to the opportunities that are available. So there's quite a bit of discussion about what a new name might be. So, you know, if you have ideas about that, feel free to drop us a line or call your call the regional director, as a matter of fact. In terms of funding sustainability and efficiency, the Cathexis report talked a lot about the need for a new funding model, and certainly that was reconfirmed at our discussion. There was a great deal of interest in having a clear, transparent, and equitable funding model for the future of the program. Also one that recognizes the varying intensities of the program that's being delivered to learners with diverse needs. There was also suggestion, identification of a need for funding to be set aside or specifically targeted for marketing activities, promotion, for professional development, for technology maintenance, training supports, and curriculum development. So there's quite a long list. It seems as if we can use that money pretty quickly. So what's going to happen next then? We have this long list of suggestions about where to go from here. And I'm sure you all are aware, and you have experience in the past in working with the ministry, change does come about slowly. Our plan moving forward, though, is to work together in a collaborative way. That's our intention. Collaboratively, not only inside the ministry, across the government, but also with partners in the field. We don't think that we can actually build a feasible, functioning program that's meaningful to learners without involving the people who actually provide the service. So we had proposed, even at the symposium, to set up working tables to work on a number of topics and to start those working tables relatively soon. I have here on the paper that we were going to talk about 2 working tables. That's what we proposed at the forum, but I can tell you, since writing this on the page, my team back in Toronto has been talking further and looking at all the work that needs to be done, and they are determining more than 2 working tables. So this is a little bit out of date as it stands. I think now they're talking about 3 working tables and a couple of reference groups in order to get everything done. So you'll be hearing about those working tables in the near future. We plan to send out a written summary of the symposium proceedings to all of those who participated. They'll take a look at the draft and help us to validate that, yes, that reflects what we talked about at the symposium, and then we'll post it again on the, what is it called? The Partnership Gateway? The OPG? Yeah, that thing. That's where it's going to be posted. And you'll also receive, through your executive directors, you'll receive an invitation to participate in some of these working groups. So we're really looking forward to working with you on an ongoing basis and to improving and expanding the program so that it continues to be meaningful for many Ontarians. Are you going to wrap us up, Jennifer? Excellent. All right. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Monica, for being here. It's the message coming from you is a lot better than it is coming from me, since you're day-to-day on this work, so it's incredible. Just in terms of wrap-up from the ministry's perspective, I think we all know that LBS is changing, and I'm excited about that. I hope you all are as well. I think there's lots of positive indications about the direction we're going, so lots of excitement. The one thing we recognize, and I can't say this enough times, but the success that we've seen so far has really been all about the passion and the continued effort that you guys have put into making it happen. So as I get the chance to come out and visit your sites, there's no question that you all do an incredible job serving the clients that you do in your communities. You make us really proud of the work that you do, and it's pretty incredible and pretty special work that you do on a day-to-day basis. So thank you all for that. Without you, the goals that the ministry has in terms of delivering this service would absolutely not be possible. I know we're running way behind. We were going to take a few questions, but it's up to you guys.
You'll have to ask Mr. Noyes. We can take a couple questions.
He's behind me. We, one of the most important things for me when I'm here is really just getting your feedback and hearing from you. So if we don't have time for questions, that's totally cool. Couple questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say for those of you, I'm Kathy Lyons from the Training and Learning Center in Eganville, and evaluation reports are usually not the most interesting things to read. But the Connexus report, I think that's what it's called, was an amazing document, and I would highly recommend folks at the practitioner level take some time to look through it. We did for Training and Learning Center like a 2 or 3 page summary of it. That might prove helpful as well. So if anybody wants the quick and dirty version, Sue would be able to share that. But I guess what I'm curious about is there were 45 recommendations in that report, and unlike many evaluation reports, they were quite specific, and some of them were quite operational. And so it seems to me that you had in those recommendations the path forward. So I guess what I'm asking is, typically, the government has to respond to each of those recommendations, say, I agree or I don't agree, and what they're going to do. So I'm curious about how that process ties into the work that the symposium is going to be doing, and will we be able to see those pieces together? In other words, will we be able to see both the recommendation, we think this needs to happen, and what the ministry is explicitly committing to do made public for us?
Well, absolutely, the symposium was based on the Cathexis evaluation report. So, but because, as you mentioned, because there were so many specific recommendations, and they were sort of set out along 7 themes, I believe. So when we did the pre-symposium survey, we asked, what do you want to focus on? So it was about taking that report and saying, where are your priorities? What are the first steps? I think that there isn't a recommendation in there, I can speak on behalf of the ministry, that we don't agree with. There is not one. We think they're all important. Now they have to be operationalized. And that's what we want to set up these working tables to work on. So, I don't think we're putting together a report right now that says here's the connection between the evaluation report, the symposium summary, and how we're going to respond, because we're setting up the working tables to develop the specific responses in terms of operationalizing those recommendations in a way that responds to the priorities that were given to us from the symposium. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
I think I saw one more at the back of the room. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Louise Lalonde. I'm from the Francophone Literacy Program, Wajapma in the Eastern region. A lot of us have been around for a long time, and I think that we need to take this opportunity to thank the ministry for this new change in the way that things are dealt with. I think individually we've all seen it with our ETCs. They do a fantastic job, and I don't think that they're kind of caught in the middle, and they don't get the recognition that they should be getting. So I'm going to take this opportunity and to thank all of our ETCs for the wonderful job that they're doing. I sit also on the CAMS committee, and I think that even there's so much. I think if you looked at your reports lately, Report 61, Report 64, there are many changes that have come out of these meetings, and I think again we need to thank the ministry for allowing us to have this active input in the documents that we use really to justify our existence and to justify to the ministry that the money is well spent. And speaking of money, well,
It was going well so far with this comment, but I feel like it might go downhill now, Louise.
It's really great. Like, we were all kind of a little disappointed with the extra targets that we got, but we realized that, and I know that you guys realize that we're 6 months into our contract, so it's kind of asking a lot for us to meet these new targets, but I can assure you that we're going to do our best. And then the symposium was like the sundae on the cake here, because to have this opportunity really to express ourselves freely, I think was really great, and I think that a lot of good things are going to come from that. And here's my punch. Okay?
I was just about to give her $20, but no, I don't know.
There's an awareness of this government as far around adult education, and I don't know if it's because of all the immigration that we are expecting to see in the short term, but the Ministry of Education is now taking a new look at the way they're approaching all of this, and I know that I've sat on some of those committees, and I was wondering, I hope we're not working in silos here. I hope that we're working together when we're talking about having or creating opportunity for a better workforce. We need to work with the Ministry of Education. We need to work with, I don't know how you say that in English, but MESI, which is the Immigration Ministry. Mm-hmm. What is it? MCI, okay? And our ministry together really to accomplish all of this, and that, we're really spending the money well.
So let me say a few things. First of all, thank you. I joined this ministry in December 2015, so I'm not quite at my 2-year mark yet, but coming up to it. When I joined, and this isn't a reflection on the people that were here before me, it was the way or the time or the state that we lived in at that point. We were really focused on, I call it policing, but really focused on managing contracts. We're really trying to change that culture, and we really I use the words valued partners all the time. If you guys aren't doing the work that you're doing, there's no reason to have us as a ministry. We don't need to exist if there wasn't really important work to be done out there, and I consider you truly as our valued partner in delivering that, and that's why I bring my thanks in terms of the work that you do every day. Your comment about the ETCs, I can't echo that enough. They are fantastic people doing wonderful things across the region. They often are caught in the middle of us trying to roll out a policy or us trying to interpret a program or interpret your contract, and also be consistent across the region, but look at your specialized local needs as well. So they really do a fantastic job of that. I encourage you at any time to talk to them. You mentioned the learner targets for this year. If there's going to be issues, start talking to your ETCs now. Let's see what we can do about it now. Just us having the awareness and working closely with you throughout the year so that we're not surprised and we're not left with a big chunk of money not spent or budget that we could put somewhere else is really helpful. So thanks for those comments. Monica, I'll give a preliminary answer. If you want to say more, you're welcome to. I think it is the direction of government, and the Premier has been very clear. Our Minister is very engaged in this work and very specific about not working in silos. So if you're finding that there are programs that are rubbing up against each other and they're not working well together, or that we're going one direction and you see the Ministry of Ed going another direction, please just highlight that for us, because that's not the intention. We're spending a lot of time at tables that cross ministries right now, working with our colleagues from MCI, from the Ministry of Education, really trying to make sure that all our pathways are aligned. But if you see something, let us know. It may just be that we haven't thought of it from that perspective, or that we actually have an intent that brings the two programs together or brings the two initiatives together. But that's definitely not our intention, and we totally hear your feedback around making sure that all the ministries are on the same page. So thank you for that comment. So I'll stop there, but again, my pleasure to be here. We're here for the afternoon, so if you can grab us for a few minutes and want to offer any other feedback or have other questions, we'd be delighted to chat with you.